All right. Good evening, guys. Ken at Tortoise Capital. It's the nightly strategy podcast for September 28th, 2021. 35th winning anniversary today with my bride. We went out and had sushi, and after a long day of work, and the day ain't over yet. So, pretty good day today. So, one of the things that we're going to do in our Catalyst workshop is have a extended discussion about the different types of coaching and why coaching can be valuable and why you want to make sure that you've got the right coaching model to apply to the performance circumstances that you're in. There's a dozen different coaching models that are appropriate for different environments, and you want to make sure that you've got one that makes sense for the situation you're in. Here's one of the models one to talking about in that course. I've laid the groundwork for 24 world-class thinkers and experienced leaders to give us an hour of their best material in a long-form podcast, along with some takeaways and references, all of which are designed to be an array of skills that can be supportive of innovations at work and in your personal life and in your trading. It's going to feature creativity, emotional intelligence, mindfulness, systems thinking, Dr. Tharp's peak performance highlights, different models of coaching and team building. My alumni soccer player are going to talk about what it takes to build a winning culture and build a good network team, and the lessons that they've learned by doing that in practice from the time they were in junior high school till now. Many of them are graduating college and getting started in the world. So we want to put together an inexpensive but comprehensive marketplace of ideas that can be used to trigger innovative behavior in yourself and in your systems, and which could lead to other workshops if people are interested in them. But I'm looking to roll that out probably not earlier than 1 December, but not later than 1 January, depending on how fast the gang gets their stuff together. And for all you on the platinum program out there of subscription, that'll be part of your salad bar of courses available, but we'll also make that available for individual purchase as well. But I'm really excited about that. I had a lot of good feedback from everybody already. So we're looking forward to that. I want to talk about this one before we get into the market today, because this came out of a true storytelling story circle Monday morning. And one of the things that we were talking about was the idea of the true story circle acts like a roundabout that generates energy. And in that sense, we realized it gathers energy from everybody that's bringing their true stories from all of their experiences and get into this little vortex of quality, if you will. And that roundabout actually acts like a prayer wheel that you're doing sacred storytelling and reflection in there and sacred sharing. And that sort of spiritual quality is palpable. You can feel that emotion and the authenticity in that sacred space. And we realize it's also kind of like the water cycle, which is a natural rhythm of raining, gathering, evaporating, and so on, which irrigates the world. And it's the same way that a generator generates power by spinning magnets around a coil to induce electrical current. So that true storytelling circle is a place where we do all the rest, reflection, repurposing, reconnoitering, reformulating, rehearsing, all of that. Until there comes a moment when you decide, hey, I'm ready to go, and you get a certain focus on that. And then this becomes like a vector of action towards a direction of opportunity, either to investigate and explore or to aim for an innovative idea with a new potential end state. And so what you have all along the way are these little story circle roundabouts just waiting to be formed to bring in people from the network and to continue to reinforce that fire that keeps you going. And there is a flywheel effect to this constant rotating bundle of potential energy, just waiting for a vector and a direction. And that flywheel effect seems to be built on these atomic elements at the smallest indivisible level. What you need to have a catalyst to change is kind of like the air, earth, water, and fire. In the simplest irreducible form of those is a simple breath of air can make a difference. You know, when you're under stress and tension, a single deep breath, in, hold, exhale, clears the deck and lets you get moving. A single drop of water contains the whole ocean of potential. It was part of the ocean. It's going back to the ocean. It is the ocean in a single drop, a manifestation of everything fluid and cooling and refreshing and nourishing. And a single grain of sand on the beach. Think about the life cycle of a grain of sand. Once upon a time, it started as an entire mountain surrounded by all his buddies, and at the height of which was wisdom, tall, proud, mysterious, deep roots. And then the forces of erosion grind that down into rocks and then into grains of sand. And that grain of sand, though, is not an insignificant thing. It is the most significant thing. A grain of sand is exactly what a pearl looks like before the oyster starts making it. It's that grain of sand is the prompt. And in the proper place, that grain of sand will grow to become a pearl of great price. And many grains of sand underneath your feet, especially when wet, feel so good and refreshing and natural and helps with mindfulness. And enough of them put in a kiln can form glass and carry life-saving blood. And the spark of fire is all that's needed to get the energy of motion and transformation going. So if you're a catalyst, what you want to do is, in and around these roundabout circles, is bring in people with energy, create a safe space that is trustworthy so that truth can emerge. And then that in exchange of energy will generate the opportunity that you then move out on with your trusted team. And so if you're a catalyst, you start bringing all these things together, and little piles of kindling all the way gives you a way to continue to feed that fire as you aim for your intentional goals. The other interesting insight that came out of that circle this on Monday morning was the notion of intention. That was our story seed, and we contrasted that with attention and then extension. And then we did a little work. We said the intention was that internal focusing effort. And then when we decide on the direction of our opportunity, then that becomes attention and attending to our knitting and details. And then by extension, you get that vector of motion towards your goals. And then with just a little bit of wordplay, we turn that into tension with an S. And you realize, if you're a mechanical engineer, that you can only get work done with an engine and a transmission and wheels connecting to the ground, that you need all the slack out of that transmission. Until that slack is taken out, you can't apply that power to the wheels. And so you carefully engage the clutch in the transmission until that tension is created that allows you to transfer energy over distance, which allows you to perform work in support of your goals. So we actually want some tension, and it starts with an inside you tension that helps you gear up to get ready for directed effort, purposeful action in a direction. And then a tension is that conversion of the inner energy to the external energy, and that energy is directed at something. So the at tension is that focused effort towards a particular goal. And then that X tension is what gets you out of your circle and into action and towards the goal. And then when that tension is over and you've achieved that next roundabout state, you can then rest, recover, refer, reconnoiter, rebound, repurpose, re-energize. All of those are words that is in our pursuit of R. So our little story circle on Monday and the one we had on Saturday had so many good ideas for opportunities that it's even hard to enumerate them all. Many of those are going to appear as 20-minute to hour-long lessons from the folks in that circle who are going to tell their true stories about how they're getting things done, including Betty, who's going to talk about how she completely re-engineered her life in her 60s and re-energized her farm through effective use of crypto and mining rigs and asset allocation to the point where she has really re-engineered her whole life. And I'm just so amazed and inspired by her. She's going to be talking about the pioneer spirit, what it takes to keep going across the Great Plains, under tension, but always with purposeful, calm, directed energy. She's a real inspiration to me. So I've convinced her to tell her story of repurposing in her life and to present her systems for generating and then managing the crypto that's earning her a comfortable passive income at an important moment in her life. So she'll be sharing those ideas. That's just one of many that'll be in that Catalyst workshop that I can't wait to see come. Can't wait to bring that to the shop floor. So we have that to look forward to, which is nice. I even have all my soccer players putting together their own little personal stories of success through high school and college and entering the work world, because there's something about kids that are getting it done in their early 20s that is particularly meaningful to my high school players and junior high school players. They may not listen to me, but they'll listen to their old team captains about how to get it done. So I'm really excited about harnessing all that energy and enthusiasm of youth and to continue to develop leaders for the future. And they make me really optimistic about the world. And so I'm excited to be able to do what I can to keep empowering them and helping them grow in these new ways. So that's what our Catalyst workshop is going to be all about. I think you're really going to like it when you see it rolled out. So stay tuned to this space for more information. So I wanted to share those things before we get into the story of the day. And it was a day that we foreshadowed yesterday. Yesterday was the culminating move in an inside day doji after about a 5 or 6 day recovery from that Z-4 rebound where a new 10-day low had been made, and it came rocketing back up to almost, but not quite, to the Bollinger Band mean. That is the classic reversion to the mean trade, which is the least surprising move of all. And here was a reversion to the mean trade from just 15 days ago, almost 20 days ago, where it was a reversion to the mean from the upside. And then that move, same magnitude, fell through the Bollinger Band mean and gave us another 1.5 legs down to take it to Z-4. That extreme move to the downside triggered our channeling and overreaction systems, which are high payoff, high probability, short-term swing trades, which gave us this win. And then this recovery move to here automatically triggered the exits in those short-term swings once they were no longer oversold. The edge was gone, and we took our orderly exit 2 days ago when we're supposed to. Then we get the inside day yesterday, right inside the body of the dragon, and price had rejected the Bollinger Band main, and we noticed that that was a day one and a day two, and that we were looking to get short the market if it were to break down below this, and that's exactly what it did. And here was the big gap down to the edge of the river at Z-1, and I want you to notice that thick blue line. That thick blue line is located precisely at the peak of the RL10. And when that gets violated, what you have is a continuation pattern to the downside, because what you have is a high in the RL10, a low, a lower high, and it's rolling over. So this gives you a pocket trade inside here. And then if you wait for it to break down exactly below the belly of the RL10 at 436.50, you get officially the collapsing dragon. So I want you to remember where that thick blue line is right here, because when we look at this on the day on the inside daily chart, we notice that it gapped open right to that thick blue line after that gap. And when you put if you treat that as a critical state and put a 25 or 30 cent hybrid frog risk box on it, the breakdown out of that box gives you the ability to get short either here, or if you wait for the rejection of that opening range, getting short here when you get a supported spring crossing to the downside, or supported winter crossing. And if you wait for it to break below the RL10 of the day, you get a collapsing dragon officially right here. Any one of those three entries, and you were swimming in a joyful river to the downside, and you have a very orderly move all the way through to the middle of the afternoon. So you're getting short somewhere around 439 and some change, and you can ride that down all the way to 432, which is a 700-point move, which is a $3,500 gain on a single contract in the S&P minis in the futures, or a reasonable short position in the ETFs or the leverage. And then just looking at the inside day moves, here's another Kata 2 and a collapsing dragon. Here's another Kata 2. Here's a collapsing dragon. Kata 2, Kata 2, Kata 2. And there's actually late in the afternoon, for those of you that want the long side, there's a supported spring crossing in the usual way here. And then here's a Kata 2, and here's another Kata 2 on its way back to join the VWAP later in the day. And that's what we would call the VWAP magnet, when you have this extreme extension of the RL10 away from the VWAP. And then as the day starts closing out, this is deleveraging short positions, and then you get some automatic movement back to the VWAP. And that's what we think of as the VWAP trade. And that's exactly what we got during the day. So the intraday trade today in the S&P was well predicted, well framed, well executed, with routine work, with standard work during abnormal times. And that's an example of one of the foundational lessons that we teach in our foundations course, the newest one getting ready to start 1 October for the next crew. We got half a dozen folks in that already, and there's still room to fill out that cohort. If you're in the sound of my voice and you're interested, just drop me a line and we'll get her done. All right, let's take a look at the sectors. Begins with, let's take a look at our top six. There's the S&P with let me get a little yellow box around this thing. So let's zoom in and see what we got now. So we have the S&P down 2% today. Let's look at the sectors that underperformed out of our big six. There's the Russell at minus 2.25. Tech got the big beat down at minus 2.8. Let's see, any other of our biggies. No, that's it for the underperformers. The outperformers, things that lost a little bit less. The Dow was only down 1.6. Treasuries disappointing because of the yields. Now they took it in the short, so there was no rest for the wicked. That was not a flight to quality today, but it was down 1.5%. And then emerging markets were the best performing of our big six indexes, only being down 1.3. So there was very little room to hide today. Let's look at the sectors that underperformed so that we can be prepared for another day of follow through to the downside, if that's what we get. So we had Mexico down 2.3, the FANGs down 2.5, S&P Tech down 3%, S&P Biotech's 3.2, lithium off 3.25, clean energy 3.5, Brazil 3.6, ARC Genomics 3.8, blockchain 3.85, ARC Innovation getting a beat down at 4.2, the Bitcoin Trust 4.25, Moonshots 4.3, then the other crypto complex there, the blended large cap crypto 6.8, and then Ethereum down 7%. Individual companies that underperformed, Virgin Galactic 6.4, Squarespace 6%, PayPal 4%, even Microsoft getting smoked 3.6%. I think that's folks panic selling to lock in gains of the last 3 months and exiting that long-term good position while they still can. And when Microsoft and Apple are getting smoked, then you know there's no safe havens in tech. Cliff Natural Resources, the steel company, minus 3.2. TX, the steel company, 2.76. Apple, minus 2.38. So no joy in Mudville today. All right, sectors that outperformed the S&P to the upside. Now, most of these, that just means that they lost less, but that's still useful information because those would be the ones that you would think have more buying power when this market turns, when it does turn. XLY Consumer Discretionary only down 1.9. The other lumber 1.7. Finance 1.6. Marijuana 1.6. Wheaton Precious Metals 1.4. Oil Exploration 1.3. Materials 1.2. Consumer Staples minus 1.1. Oil 1%. Blended commodities minus 0.8. Commercial real estate minus 1/3. Then only the few sectors that outperformed today, agriculture, I should say, 0.32. The energy sector itself, 0.34. And then VIX with a big 10.5% gain. Outperforming companies, John Deere, 4.3. Devon Energy, 0.37. Robinhood, minus 0.3. Coinbase and Alcoa with only down 1% and 1.1. So very little safe havens at all. Some of the Fed were reporting that they're certain that inflation is here to stay, so sort of changing their tune, and that's going to continue to drive up oil prices. So we had some follow through in oil today. Let's see. That's everything I want to cover off of that. So I do want to give some great praise to Ken H., our exemplar. In fact, he's going to do a hour-long course, or an hour-long lesson, I should say, in our Catalyst course. I've named him the exemplar because of his exemplary performance of craft work. He's been in the workshop every day for the last 2 years under COVID and beyond, refining his craft, mastering the tools, learning the patterns, eliminating waste, very simplifying and standardizing his work. And you see a perfect example of this here today, that we're prepared for the market meltdown from a critical state. And when that happens, VXX um, is always an interesting target. So there's a nice gap up, and as the market is crashing, he gets a minimum manageable risk box of 0.2 here, gets his entry, holds through the slight pullback. If he gets out in here for a scratch, then the re-entry is right there. So he hangs tough because the whole market is getting crushed, and this is going to continue to work. Gets his second position, gets an orderly 1, 2, 3 exit, considered but rejected the immediate 1, 2, 3 re-entry, waits for the PSAR flip, gets a micro scratch, but then re-entry when it doesn't collapse, and then triggers that into a 1 position, 2 position, 3 position exit for a total of 7.5 R on that little 10-minute sequence. Right after a losing trade, he just routinely re-enters as you're supposed to. He does routine things routinely, and that's what normal standard work in abnormal times looks like. He gets his third position in, or his second position, I should say, when it goes beyond the Z3 pinch breakout. And then this is just a money management, and then a beautiful sniper. After a short kata 2 opportunity, he takes the shot, takes the micro loss, considers this one or not, but it's getting towards lunch, and he just decides, you know what, 9R. And now he actually had to report to the true storytelling workshop that I got him enrolled into, because he's working with my doctoral mentor, David Boji, and a number of amazing people from around the world that are learning how to do the true storytelling roundabouts that we've been practicing ourselves internally for a year. But now he's going right to the source and expressing himself and listening to the stories of others from people all over the world. There's South America, Europe, North America, Asia, all represented in that workshop. I'm certified to teach those courses, but I really felt it was important for him to see it in the wild from the originator himself, because I got plans for Ken H. When we get done with this. But he's going to help write a true story of his craftsmanship over the last 2 years by really appreciating the power of true storytelling and narrative by going through this short 4-session workshop. And he's going to turn that into some amazing product. And that's going to be one of the 24 lessons that we look at in the Catalyst workshop. So I just want to praise him with great praise in public and keep up the great work. You're very inspiring to me, and you drive me to do my best work because of your excellence in everything that you do. So I want to embarrass you in public like that because you've earned it. All right, let's go ahead and shift now to the daily reports and get those things underway. Let me pull those up. I was teaching some Army officers today about how to prepare comprehensive logistics plans for difficult circumstances today in the afternoon. So let me get our reports opened here real quick. Okay, so let's go to the daily report and dashboard number 1. So we are still in bullish volatile conditions, but we're getting perilously close. We're only 3% away from a sideways market and a sideways volatile market can be vicious. We've gone to oversold conditions now on the 30-day and the 2-day. We remain low normal or low neutral on the 10 and the 90. So the market is vulnerable to the next leg down. We are really at that crucial state on volatility. It only takes a little bit more suffering to make this the least favorable in terms of volatility in the last 6 months. So we're getting close. We're getting close to those critical states. Now, in both of these cases, when the market was this level, volatility really dried up because of Fed action, and those two moments prompted some very good-looking rebounds and long side. And then, like this one was a low, and then a higher low that sort of creates a Kata 2 structure. And then this became a really good payoff on the swing. So anytime volatility gets to those extreme locations, that's an abnormal move. And so my standard work is to frame this trade as a bi-directional trade and have no directional bias, but to be prepared for large, savage moves in either direction, and to prepare to cash the winners when I have a bird in the hand, and not take the swing trades until we get out of this volatility cycle. So that's my standard work for abnormal volatile times. Now, I noticed that we've got new signals today in channeling and overreaction. We got EFA and IEV, that's the Euro Asia blend and the European 350 for channeling, and then for overreaction, I should say. And then the index channeling is triggering us for technology, the Euro Asia blend, and also Europe. So the EFA IEV has some consensus for an entry tomorrow to be ready for the long side from two different independent systems that are both high reliability. So that's what makes this a critical state in the market. Just at the peak of awakening panic, it says, hey, this thing could go in either direction. So we knew how to trade it to the long side. We know how to trade the failure move as well. We would notice that there's a predominance of energy in the min pains. Then there's some Nike, Microsoft, Nucor, Cisco, and Disney in the max pains, as well as gold miners and Brazil. And weakness in IBB, which is biotech. So there's some sectors that are showing some weakness. Only a few dojis today in the Dow Tactical. Plenty of auto framers. We didn't get 10-day lows today because of the previous sell-off 6 or 7 days ago, but one more good day and we're going to get some pain and suffering. We had 2 5DDs that would therefore be of interest. Which is United Health, which is 2.7 to 1, and Coca-Cola, which is 3.4 to 1 on the auto framer. So some excellent reward to risk ratios in those patterns. In the ETF 30 tactical, there were only a couple dojis, plenty of channelings and overreactions, lots of auto framers as well, and plenty to choose from. But just notice it's metals and mining, energy, and then the defensive plays of silver and real estate as the protection against equity volatility. The auto framer has plenty to choose from. I would stay with the indexes myself and try to get that critical state move working intraday first. And so that leads me to favor things like treasuries at 4.4 to 1. Real estate at 3.5 to 1. That one's easy to believe in because it was one of the outperformers today. Asia less Japan is of interest. And then I would say probably the EAFE index, because that was a trigger on both channeling and overreaction. So plenty of things to choose from. Most everything had wide ranges today, so only Cisco meets the criteria for the daily squeeze because its range is still relatively compressed on a daily basis. Winter is predominating in the four seasons, as is spring, which not unusual because that's under the zero line. So there's a real weakness of symbols in the spring. They can turn back into the winter pretty handily. Only a few things in the summer, and that's all the energy sector. And then in the ETFs, and that feels correct. Lots of red all across the board. Only ExxonMobil, the energy space, had any kind of green today. And then you can just see the magnitude and the proliferation of red in the ETFs all getting smoked today. Only metals and mining with a 72 and oil exploration were in the white, and then energy sector itself in the green. That's a very thin support framework for continued gains. So wouldn't surprise me to see them roll over and join the rush downward as well. What the slope of the RL30 is now more than 2 standard deviations away from that black line, which is the average. That's the 6-month average right there. And now we're almost at -3 sigma in terms of how steep downward this move is. So that's starting to get serious. You can see it's leaving the station in terms of volatility and percent stretch. Volatility is increasing. The ATR divided by price volatility is as volatile as it's been in the last 100 days. So that's being troublesome. And again, you can see the very long-term slope stats getting weak and getting ready to collapse completely. All right, that's everything I want to cover for today. Let's get this published and posted and be ready for tomorrow with a good night's sleep and good preparation for tomorrow's follow-through trades. Take good care, and we shall see you in the chat room.